Who's the smallest dick you've ever had sex with?
Oh my god, no one look at me, Cody Ko.
Made me want to vomit.
Which?
R. Kelly being 31 and like charming up 17-year-old girls.
That's weird as
So happy.
It's perfectly normal to have someone you look up to. Maybe it's someone who motivates you to be your best, someone whose work lights something in you, or someone you simply admire. It could be a celebrity or a mentor, but not everyone is who they seem to be. Sometimes the people who look perfect on the outside are very different behind the scenes. That's why it's often better to admire some people from afar, because the closer you get, the more likely you are to see cracks in the perfect picture. This is one of those stories. The story of Cody Ko, a guy who seemed cool, funny, and super relatable online. But what happens when someone who once inspired others ends up hurting those who looked up to him? This is the story of how one young and hopeful YouTuber got caught up in Cody's mess. So if you're ready for this, grab a comfy seat, maybe a cold drink, and settle in. It'll be a long one, and you won't want to miss a second of it. Cody Ko probably doesn't need much of an introduction. He's a super popular YouTuber, podcaster, comedian, and content creator. Basically, if you spend any time on YouTube, you've likely come across his face or his videos. He is a Canadian, and his legal name is Cody Michael Kolajek. He's been around since 2014 and has built a huge following, with 6 million subscribers on his channel. He was one of the early creators on YouTube who started on Vine, and even back then, most of his content was weirdly cringy.
Damn, girl. Are you a bird feeder? Because I'm in the mood to spread some seed, you feel me? What's that? What are you doing?
I think you got some new dog on there.
What? What's new dog?
Well, my wife left me.
What? Are you going to Coachella? Oh, no. Oh. Let's get out of here.
Babe, I've been cheating on you.
Oh, thank God. I hate you. I've been waiting to break up with you.
I was kidding.
Me too.
But when the controversy started blowing up in mid-2024, things went bad fast. In just a few months, Cody Ko lost around 300,000 subscribers, dropping from about 5.96 million to roughly 5.67 million. It's been that bad. The internet can turn on you real quick, and for Cody, it definitely did. But how did it all go so wrong? Well, it started sometime last year when a certain clip popped up online, and things haven't been the same since. The video is from a show at Cross Theater in Sacramento, California. It was one of those events where fans get to come up on stage and ask questions. Sounds harmless, but what happened during that moment ended up affecting a lot of people's view of Cody.
Favorite city I've been to on tour? New Orleans, Louisiana. I hate that place. Who's the most famous person you've ever had sex with? Oh my god, like maybe Tyga. Least favorite brand I've ever worked with. One time, we sold out for an apartment in New York. Like the rent was paid on the apartment in New York for a Juul charger that charged your Juul from your phone. Like, it was sounds brilliant. No, it was definitely breaking iPhones everywhere and I shouldn't have done it.
Who's the smallest dick you've ever had sex with?
Oh my god, no one look at me, Cody Ko. Delete the videos. I can say that. I was literally 17. I can say that. What? Sorry.
Wait, what? Did I hear that right? Hold up, let's zoom in and turn up the audio. We need to catch exactly what she said, word for word. This might just be the moment.
Who's the smallest dick you've ever had sex with?
Oh my god, no one look at me, Cody Ko. Delete the videos. I can say that. I was literally 17. I can say that. What? Sorry. Delete the videos. Oh my god, I wasn't here.
Yeah, she said it. And that moment right there, it was the beginning of the end for Cody. Now, to be fair, the whole video seemed like a joke. The crowd was laughing, everything looked chill, and no one seemed to think she said anything too wild. But the internet doesn't miss a thing. People started replaying that clip, digging into it and trying to find anything else that could back up what she said, and that's when the real mess began. It was like opening a can of worms. At the time this video dropped, Cody was still riding high. He was popular, and things hadn't spun out of control yet. His loyal fans jumped in right away, defending him. They said she was just trying to tear him down or ruin his image. Some even pulled up clips, just like this one, to prove that Tanya jokes about stuff all the time, and that she even said so herself.
I think it's also just like the way, at least the way I am, is I'm very like, I joke about things. Like I say things in a very flippant manner, and like, even just in my real life, like if I'm just chilling with you, I'll say the most traumatizing, like crack a joke, and that's just always A, how I've coped, but B, just how I am about a lot of things. I'm a pretty unserious person.
But to be fair to Tanya, sometimes when people struggle to express what's hurting them, they turn it into a joke. It makes it easier to say out loud, even if it's serious underneath. One thing I want to do in this video is look at both sides of this story. I'll go over the evidence, talk through what's out there, and leave the final decision up to you. There are already tons of videos out there acting like judge and jury, calling one side guilty and the other innocent without even blinking. Others are defending their favorite creators, no matter how much proof is staring them in the face. So before we go into the messy stuff, let me lay down some background and introduce a few key people who play a big part in this whole situation. Let's start with Tana Mongeau. Tana blew up on YouTube pretty fast. She's known for her wild storytime videos, chaotic vlogs, and that unfiltered say-anything personality that made her stand out. She's worked with other big creators like Jonah Green, Cody Ko, Polina Baragova, Shannon Rose, and Ricky Dillon. If there was drama or a trending moment on YouTube, chances are Tana was either in on it or talking about it. But behind the fame, her life hasn't been all good. Tana had a rough childhood. She's opened up about constant fighting in her home and how growing up in Las Vegas exposed her to parties, drugs, and alcohol at a really young age.
Where I lived the last 5 years before growing up was just kind of like a ghettoer, cheaper area of Henderson, Nevada, in this little duplex with my parents, and it was a 2-bedroom, and my parents wouldn't sleep in the same bed, so either my mom or my dad would sleep on the couch every night, or I would sleep on the couch, and it was dirty and just ghetto, and he still lives there. Going there is just, that's a whole nother video within itself. But a lot of our neighbors were very ghetto neighbors that would move in and out, drug dealers, all that kind of stuff.
Growing up for Tana wasn't anything close to normal. It was rough. Her parents weren't really present or helpful, and the environment she grew up in just made everything harder. Because of all that, she ended up being super rebellious and started living like an adult way too early. Now, a lifestyle like that can go both ways. Sometimes it teaches you a lot and makes you tough, but most times it throws you into situations you're not ready for, and those experiences can be really damaging.
My parents never instilled anything that parents instill in you, like structure, responsibility, or schedule. I dropped out of high school at 15 because I couldn't even go to school on time. So many of the mistakes I feel I made in the beginning of my career were from lack of so many things I needed, Yeah. So it's now I'm finally hiring life coaches and learning that and getting therapy and fixing. So if anything,
there was no obedience growing up?
No, I was rebelling against my parents my entire life for sure. Because I don't really ever remember getting along with my family. Maybe I was at 7 or 8 we got along.
Tana dropped out of high school at just 15. With no real parental guidance or structure in her life, she was pretty much on her own. This was when she left home completely and started living with her friends. Back when Hannah was still in elementary school and living with her parents, she shared a shocking story. She talked about how she was stalked by a strange man over a period of time. It wasn't just a one-time thing, it went on long enough to affect her. Eventually, she was able to get the man arrested. And for someone that young, going through something that scary, it must have been traumatic.
In elementary school, or at my elementary school at least, the teacher on the first day of school would give you a list of all of the home phone numbers of every family in your classroom. And you would go home and give it to your parents so that they had the contacts of every parent in case they needed it. And everyone took them home to their parents like normal, except for this one kid. Hint, he's my stalker. I started getting phone calls to my house every day, and it would be this little boy, and obviously I'm not going to say his name because I want to live until I'm old. So it'd be this boy, and he would call my house phone, and my parents would pick up because I was a child, So they'd be hello, and then he'd be hey, can I talk to Tana? It's about the homework. And then I'd answer, and he'd be I love you. I love you. I love you, Tana. I love you. And I'd be boys have cooties, bye. Nah. Yeah, okay, And he wouldn't stop calling. I started getting all of these anonymous messages on Tumblr. And the first message was my address, but they made a riddle out of it, and the answer to the riddle was my address. And I was what the f? So I was with friends when I got that, so I called my dad, and I was and while I'm on the phone with my dad, I get a message that is my dad's full name, first, middle, and last name. And I was this is so sketch, what the f? And so I stay on the phone with him, and I'm you know what, I think I'm gonna go visit my grandma. And I'm not gonna say where she lives, but she lives in another state, and I was gonna go visit her to get out of town for a little bit and lay low so I didn't die because my stalker was really sketching me out. And after I said that on the phone, my stalker or whoever sends me a message on Tumblr that was my grandma's home phone number in 3 messages. So I filed a police report, and then the police get involved, and it was my stalker from 2nd grade. Are you in shock? Because me too, I was so shocked. And so he got arrested, and he is now in jail, ha 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 ha. So
this was one of her earlier encounters with weird guys and how stalky they can be.
How long did you live with your parents? I mean, I guess technically until I was like 15, but like by 14, I was like staying with my friends for like months at a time and shit. Like I was out. It was just a very volatile environment.
She started living like an adult way too soon, partying, getting into risky habits, and doing things most teenagers wouldn't normally deal with. And even if they did, they usually have some responsible adult that tried to bring them back to the right path. So somewhere along the way, Tana found a new path. She picked up a camera, started sharing her wild stories online. That's how she broke into YouTube and the entertainment world and became the Tana Mongeau everyone knows today. Even after being famous, Tana kept her distance from her parents. Over the years, she's talked a lot about the way they treated her growing up, the lack of care, the emotional neglect, and how much it still messes with her mentally. You could tell that part of her childhood still haunts her. But out of all the things she's ever said about them, there was one comment that really struck a nerve. That was the moment her parents had enough and decided it was time to push back and take a stand against Tana.
There was abuse.
Absolutely.
It sounds like it was a really traumatic.
Absolutely.
You know,
But
and so
I've said that before, and then I've been in court having to almost pay millions of dollars for slander.
Really?
you
so
can
it's-
slander your parents?
Apparently you
Like, what
can.
damage are you going to do to them?
Yeah,
So are you going through litigation right now with your parents?
This was
It's over.
this was like 2-3 years ago, probably.
And did you guys settle?
It's no secret that Tana grew up in a tough home and an even tougher neighborhood. Her parents weren't well off, and by many accounts, including their own, they weren't the most responsible either. That part everyone seemed to agree on. But where things get messy is when it comes to the word abuse. Tana has spoken openly about being mistreated by her parents, but her parents have denied ever being abusive. So what's the truth? Is it possible that she exaggerated her story to gain sympathy or distance herself from her family without thinking about how those claims would affect them? We've seen creators, especially in online spaces, say shocking things just for views or attention. Could this be one of those moments? Or maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she did go through those things that left deep scars, and speaking out was her way of dealing with it all. It's hard to say for sure, but it's one of those questions that keeps coming up when people talk about a rise to fame and the pain that may have fueled it.
It's over.
This was like 2-3 years ago, probably.
And did you guys settle?
Yeah,
out of
because
court?
it's basically, I guess I can talk about this. I don't know. I mean,
Well, did you
my
sign
lawyer-
an NDA?
I signed a non-disparagement.
For those who don't know, a non-disparagement agreement is a deal between two parties or people where they both agree not to say anything bad, harmful, or damaging about each other, whether it's online, in writing, or conversations. No dragging, no trash talk, nothing that could ruin the other person's reputation. Now here's what went down with Tana. Her parents had finally had enough of being talked about online, especially the way she described them as abusive. They felt like she was using them as a storyline for content, and they just couldn't take it anymore. So they sued her. They simply wanted to clear their name and live out the rest of their lives in peace. Being ignored by Tana already hurt, but being shamed in front of millions, that was too much. So they did what they felt they had to do. As part of the settlement, Tana signed an agreement saying she wouldn't speak negatively or say anything damaging about her parents, unless she had solid proof to back it up. No more stories without receipts.
So don't disparage them. That means you can be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
disparage them.
received a letter, that basically said, you said these things on this reality show. When I was on MTV and I had a show, we went and kind of toured my childhood homes, and I said a lot of things that someone in court could say, create a loss of income, or which is so untrue. It was definitely just a cash grab. Everyone was very, in my opinion, but everyone was very aware of it being like that. And it went back and forth for a while. And then it got to the point where it would have been, and this was peak COVID, so it was all over Zoom and just awful for my mental state as well. Like having to just relive so much stuff all the time that to me, I felt like I had been beginning to put to rest. And it got to a point where it would have been years in court, and it would have been a public trial, and it would have been medical subpoenas.
Seriously?
Medical subpoenas all the time, and just so much shit.
You couldn't get rid of it on before a trial?
I tried as hard as I possibly could.
What the fuck?
And I don't want to see them. I don't want to talk to them ever again. I don't want to feel that way ever again. I don't want to watch them defend that all the that they did to me was that they were good parents, just watching, in my opinion, lie. And yeah, we settled and I had to pay them like a couple $100,000.
I get it. Tana's been through a lot. The trauma from her childhood, the way her parents treated her, it's not something to brush off. It's very possible that she was abused when she was younger. But the sad part is, without solid proof, it's hard for her to win a case like this, especially in court. And because she's a public figure, the whole situation could easily turn into a bigger mess. So settling the case was probably the smartest move. And honestly, I don't believe it was a cash grab like Tana called it. Her parents might have gotten some money from the settlement, sure, but it's more than that. Tana was saying things, even if true, that could seriously affect their lives. If people believed they were abusers, it could damage their reputation, their relationships, even their businesses if they had any. No one wants to be labeled like that, especially later in life when all you want is peace. So yeah, maybe the money was a bonus, but the real issue was their image and how they were being talked about on huge platforms like MTV. Tana didn't forget to be grateful to her friend's family who took her in when she was 15 years old for their support in her life.
Yeah, you suck. But words can't express how grateful I am for my best friend's family. Like they are literally my mother and my father, and he has siblings, and they're my brother and my sister, and
The reason I brought this up early in the video is because it's one of the main arguments people on Cody's side are using. They believe Tana lied about being abused by her parents and only said those things to gain sympathy, attention, and pity. So now they're saying she's doing the same thing with Cody, that her claims are just another way to grab the spotlight. To them, taking down someone as big as Cody while playing the victim would be a huge win for her. But this situation with Cody is very different from what happened with her parents. There's a lot that's come out since then, and some of it paints Cody in a very suspicious light. As we go further into this video, we're going to go through all the information we've gathered so far, piece by piece, to see where it all leads. I'd love to hear your thoughts too, so drop your opinions in the comments. I read everything, even if I don't reply to all comments. For a while, it looked like the people defending Cody had the upper hand. That was until an old video of Gabbie resurfaced online. She didn't mention any names, but the things she said, yeah, they were pretty damning. And it didn't take long before people started connecting the dots.
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me.
So what she was basically saying was that she tried to warn a guy about hanging out with the underage girl, but he still went ahead and got intimate with her. But hold up, who is Gabbie? What's her connection to Cody or Tana? And why is she even involved in all this? Once you know her role in the story, things start to get really interesting. Well, Hannah's no stranger to the spotlight. She's a YouTube star with over 5 million subscribers, known for her wild pranks, challenge videos, story times, rants, and just being super unfiltered. Before YouTube, she blew up on Vine. Back then, she was known as The Gabbie Show, and she pulled in over 4.7 million followers. She's been internet famous for a long time. She's also dabbled in music and acting. She dropped her debut single Out Loud in 2017 and even starred in the YouTube series Escape the Night. On top of that, she's a published author. She released a book called Adultolescence that mixes poetry with her signature chaotic energy. Before all the fame, she graduated from the University of Pittsburgh with a degree in psychology and communications. So yeah, she's got a little bit of everything going on. Now, why does this matter? Why is she suddenly part of the Cody Ko drama? Because in that resurfaced video, even though she didn't drop any names, people are almost certain she was talking about Cody. Her words gave a whole new angle to the situation and made a lot of people go, wait, maybe there's more to this than we thought. And hey, if you're still not convinced, if you're thinking maybe we're just overanalyzing things or reaching too far, that maybe Hannah wasn't even talking about Cody at all, then you really need to see the next video.
Like, to be 100%
the more new questions keep showing up out of nowhere. There has also been an attempt to discredit Hannah because of the attention-seeking behavior she's exhibited in the past, and Hannah has admitted to this in a video.
I mean, I get, wanting to get a little bit of attention, but, I guess we all choose different ways to get that attention.
Now, even with all this out there, some people are still pushing back. They're saying that Tana and Hannah are close friends, and that it wouldn't be too hard for them to team up and make up a story just to make it sound believable. But Tana's not staying quiet on that either. She had something to say about those claims, and it might just shift how you see the whole situation.
I was so afraid for so long of like just telling the truth about it. To be the cold hard truth, but I'm like, A, people aren't gonna believe me, I'm Tana Mongeau, I'm psycho. B, I get so scared of people like, where it's like I could say like, you know, Gabbie and I didn't have the best time on Escape the Night. You know, there were moments where we were friends, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like we were never friends, but I'm saying like, like I was scared to even just like say something like that because I'm like, what if she finds our text from 2015 and cancels me or anyone in that case? I was so afraid of even just not doing a podcast for so long. I was like, I'm gonna talk my truth about so much, and I was so afraid.
This is one of the biggest problems for people in Hannah's position. There are so many who've gone through real traumatic experiences but choose to stay silent. Why? Because of shame, because of fear, because they know people might not believe them, or worse, make fun of them or accuse them of lying. That's likely why Tana kept quiet for so long. And she's not alone. A lot of victims stay silent for the very same reasons. Tana's situation is even tougher in some ways. She's speaking out against someone who is not just well-known, but loved and respected online. Cody has been in the content game longer than Tana and has built strong friendships with other creators, people who may want to defend him no matter what. That kind of loyalty can make it nearly impossible for someone to be heard. Tana's one advantage is her platform. She has a strong voice online, a huge following, and the kind of presence that gives her the power to fight back if she needs to. But most people who go through something like this, they don't have that kind of reach. They don't have the support. They don't have the courage. Or they do, but they're scared of what happens if the person they accuse isn't held accountable. And that fear isn't just in their heads. It's happened before. Just look at the story of Ron Jeremy. Ron Jeremy, a longtime actor in the adult film industry, was hit with serious charges of sexual assault a few years ago. The accusations cover a long period from 2004 to 2023 and involve victims ranging in age from 54 to as young as 15. The charges include multiple counts of R and other forms of SA. In one of the earliest and most disturbing claims, that is in the early 2000s, he assaulted a 15-year-old girl at a party in Santa Clarita, Florida. After the first set of charges, more and more women stepped forward. Eventually, a grand jury handed down a full indictment in 2021. Many of the reported assaults happened at a bar in West Hollywood that Jeremy often visited, including one incident said to have happened in the parking lot. Jeremy has denied all the accusations and, through his lawyer, said he plans to plead not guilty.
Adult film actor Ron Jeremy pleading not guilty to charges of raping 3 women. Now, this is video from earlier this week. He's being held now on nearly $7 million bail, even though his attorney asked for it to be lowered.
But if he's found guilty, he could face more than 100 years in prison. Ron Jeremy was officially indicted on 34 counts of sexual assault, including 12 counts of R. These accusations stretched over more than 20 years. But in a recent court decision, a judge ruled that Jeremy wouldn't be able to stand trial. Why? Because he's now suffering from what doctors say is incurable neurocognitive decline, meaning his mental state has gotten so bad he can't understand or participate in the court process anymore. Jeremy's lawyer told the court his client couldn't even recognize him during a jail visit. A medical report later confirmed that Jeremy has severe dementia. Jeremy, who's now around 70, has always denied the allegations and said he planned to clear his name, but he never got the chance to go to trial. He wasn't even present at the latest hearing.
Porn star Ron Jeremy has been declared mentally incompetent to stand trial for rape and other sex charges. The announcement was made by a spokesperson for the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office.
So when things like this happen, when someone who may have seriously hurt people ends up being let go or never faces a full trial, it can be painful for the victims. Imagine waiting years, maybe even decades, hoping for justice, holding on to the idea that one day the truth will come out and the person who hurt you will finally be held accountable. And then just like that, they're let off the hook. Whether it's because of health, legal loopholes, or technicalities, it doesn't change how it feels. It's heartbreaking, it's frustrating, and for a lot of survivors, it feels like being hurt all over again.
Made me want to vomit.
Which?
R. Kelly being 31 and like charming up 17-year-old girls?
This is just wild. For someone who's been with or allegedly been with a 17-year-old, it's kind of ironic that Cody felt so comfortable judging someone else in a similar situation. But when that video was made, the whole Tana situation hadn't blown up yet. The heat wasn't on him, and he probably never imagined that a day like this would come, where people would be putting him under the radar. It all started back in 2016, when Cody and Tana most likely met for the first time. At the time, Tana was still fairly new to YouTube and definitely wasn't as big as Cody. She was just starting to build her presence, while Cody was already well known on the platform. Tana was a huge fan of his. She loved his content and looked up to him. You could tell just by the kind of posts she was putting out back then on Twitter. She's been a fan of him since his Vine days in 2014. It was obvious she admired him and probably never thought things would turn out the way they did. Tana and Cody met at the 2016 Playlist Live, an event that happens every so often and brings together YouTubers, influencers, fans, and creators from all over. It's basically like a big social media festival. Think panels, meet and greets, performances, and networking all packed into one weekend. For up-and-coming creators, it's a chance to meet the people they admire, grow their audience, and connect with the online community in real life. So when Tana and Cody met at Playlist Live, it was a big deal for her. Events like this are often the first real-life meeting points for creators who've only interacted online. And for a fan-turned-creator like Tana, it would have been exciting to meet someone she looked up to so much. This must have been where Hannah saw Cody hanging out with Tana, and she called him to warn him about the possibility that Tana was underage in the clip we played earlier. It was an energetic event, that which Cody was interviewed on that day.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Tyler Lane from iHeartRadio and Now 105, and we are at Playlist Live with Cody Ko. What's going on?
Chillin'.
So what's your favorite part about being at Playlist Live?
The parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, Cody loved the party scene. Playlist Live was exactly the kind of place where he, and honestly a lot of guys in the YouTube space, would want to hang out. The vibe is laid back, there are parties everywhere, and there are always tons of creators and fans around. It's easy to see how someone could get caught up in the moment. Now, no one knows exactly what went down between Cody and Tana that day, but Tana has since confirmed that something happened between them. And as we heard earlier, Hannah backed that up too. But let's be clear, the issue here isn't about whether it was mutual. It's not about whether they made an agreement to feature on each other's pages to help boost Tana's visibility. It's not even about whether or not it was technically consensual. The real issue is Tana's age at the time. She was still very young and impressionable, so young that someone almost 9 years older could easily use charm or pressure to take advantage of her in a way she didn't fully understand. That's the heart of the problem, especially if something really did happen. And here's an important legal point. This all happened in Florida, where the age of consent is 18. Now, even in cases where the younger person is 16 or 17, the law still says that the older person must be no more than 23 years old. At the time of the event, Cody was 25. And for anyone doubting Cody's age in 2016, here is a post from him himself confirming it on his page. Just to give a more balanced view, some people have been asking, why is Tana so focused on Cody when it comes to this allegation? It's no secret, and even Tana has admitted it herself, that she lived a pretty wild, free, and reckless lifestyle during her teenage years. She's talked openly about having multiple partners back then. So naturally, people are wondering, why single out Cody? Was it because the others she was with were closer to her age and therefore legal? Was it because those people aren't famous now and calling them out wouldn't get as much attention? Or maybe, was there something different about her encounter with Cody that we still don't know? These are the kinds of questions people defending Cody are raising, and one video in particular has been shared a lot by his supporters as part of their argument. Let's take a look at it.
And we were dating, and then I started kind of blowing.
So the point people are making here is that this was around the same time Tana met Cody. In one of her old videos, which to be honest I didn't pay much attention to at first, she talked about being in a messy relationship at the time. The person she was dating wasn't supportive of her YouTube career. He thought it was affecting their relationship. He also accused her of cheating at that first Playlist Live event she attended, which, as we now know, she actually did. Instead of apologizing to him, she probably gaslighted him and cheated even more. In her own words, she hooked up with other people. She also said, he knew that I was into people who do what I do, that is content creation. All of this happening during that same year when she was 17 going on 18. So clearly, Cody wasn't the only person she had been involved with around that time. That leaves people wondering, why speak up about Cody specifically? Maybe Cody did something that truly hurt her, something different from the others. Maybe it was manipulative or crossed a line that stuck with her. Or like her critics claim, maybe Cody was just a bigger target. He's famous, relevant, and calling him out would get people's attention and sympathy. But what they don't realize is that we don't know the full story. And while it's okay to ask questions, it's not okay to shame someone for speaking up. No one should be silenced or made to feel guilty for sharing truth, especially when it could be about something serious.
I mean, I guess it's really not that long of a story. I eventually broke up with him because I wanted to be with someone else.
So people started connecting the dots and figuring that something must have happened between Tana and Cody, mainly because of what followed after Playlist Live. That event took place in April 2016. It's likely where they met, clicked, and decided to work together. And sure enough, not long after the event, probably a week or two later, in May 2016, Tana posted a video titled "The biggest video ever featuring Cody Ko. The title might sound like a joke, but the video took off. It went viral, and to this day, it's sitting at nearly 2 million views. So yeah, that timing? Pretty suspicious. And for a lot of people, it confirmed that their connection started at Playlist Live, and maybe there was more to it than just collabing for content.
Not gonna laugh at my jokes
Dislike
this time?
this video.
No, now the camera's on, you're not gonna laugh at my jokes.
Don't check out his channel. I'm literally not even gonna link it, but like, you're gonna have to Google his name, which I'm not even gonna tell you. That's gonna get bleeped.
Oh, don't believe it. It's check me out on YouTube. Alright, so
I mean, just look at the way Cody was looking at her as she walked past him. That's a very suspicious look to give someone who wasn't even of legal age in Florida, or California for that matter. Sure, he's human. Some say that he probably should have just waited until she turned 18 before getting involved with her in any way. The Playlist Live event happened in April. The video they made together was posted in May, and Tana's 18th birthday wasn't until June 24th of that same year. So, depending on what happened during that time, Cody might have broken the law if any of it is proven to be true. And if that's the case, no amount of he didn't know or they were just joking around is going to make it okay. Despite all the hate, despite the backlash, the negative videos, and the constant pushback, Tana didn't stop speaking. Even when people made fun of her, brushed her off, or just didn't believe her, she kept going. She stood her ground and kept sharing her side of the story. At one point, she even opened up about how hard it is to deal with situations like this. She talked about the emotional toll it takes, especially when you feel like you're screaming into a crowd that's not listening.
I'm sure you experience this a lot with David. I was talking about this yesterday as well, but like the difference in when you're coming for someone or just telling the truth about someone. I don't even want to say coming for someone.
Right.
When you're telling the truth about someone and they're a well-liked person versus a not well-liked person.
Yeah.
Because it's like when they're not a well-liked person, like everyone's like, they're so down to get on that bandwagon and be like them. But like if you're saying like something happened with a well-liked person, it's crazy the way it can be like received.
She has a really valid point, and honestly, it makes you think. The only reason this whole situation hasn't blown up even more is that Cody is powerful, popular, and well-liked across YouTube and other social media platforms. If this were someone who wasn't as loved, or someone who had a habit of saying negative or controversial things online, these kinds of allegations would have ended them immediately. Their career, their following, gone. People would have gone full cancel mode without a second thought. But because Cody has built this strong, clean image, people are finding it harder to believe he could do anything wrong. And that's one of the main reasons Tana is facing so much pushback. It's not about what she said, it's about who she said it to. Trish also backed up her point on this matter.
Yeah, and then when it flips too, because that happened with me with David, right? He was so loved, so then everyone hated me. And then the minute like other stuff coming out, like other people started saying stuff, it was almost like, oh, Trish was right. She's been saying this all along. You know what I mean? Which is like fine. And then when that happens, it feels like good, but it does take a minute for it to come out. Or the stuff with Colleen, right? Like I mean, I feel like Adam talked about it for so long, and no one was like, I didn't know what was happening. No one was taking it seriously. And then other stuff stops coming out, and you're just like, oh my god, like this person's kind of like a person. Maybe what he was saying, there is some like truth to it.
Trish's point is also very valid because the truth is, a lot of people won't believe someone's story until it's confirmed by someone else. In most cases, unless there's hard proof that leaves no room for doubt, people chose not to believe at all. That's exactly what happened with Tana. Her story was later confirmed by another creator named Keemstar, who'd actually known about this situation for a while. But because he didn't have all the details at the time, he never spoke up publicly. Eventually, he made a post explaining how he found out about what happened and shared his own experience talking with Tana. According to him, Tana was visibly upset back then, not about what happened, but also because she felt like it wasn't Hannah's place to share something that personal before she was ready to speak on it herself. After that, people started going after Keemstar for waiting so long before sharing his side of the story. A lot of them felt that if he had come forward earlier, it could have made a difference. Maybe more people would have believed Tana and Hannah sooner. Maybe justice could have been served faster. That delay didn't sit right with many people. Because of all the backlash, Keem ended up making a video to address the criticism. He tried to explain why he stayed silent for so long and gave his reasons for only speaking up now.
I am seeing a lot of replies of people saying, well, Keem, you knew about this alleged statutory of Tana Mongeau by Cody Ko for years, and you didn't say anything. You're a horrible, horrible person. Guys, this was told to me years ago off record. I can't just leak that to the internet without knowing it's true, without someone actually going on record and destroying Cody Ko's career over something that can't be confirmed. There's no witness on record. I can't just leak that. Please use your brains, all right? I can't just come out with that statement. I wasn't there, I didn't see it with my own eyes. I get told crazy allegations off record on a daily basis. And what my team does is we try to find stuff online to confirm it. And if we can't get some credible stuff online or other witnesses that come out publicly, there's not much we can do.
With all the support and criticism pouring in from every direction, Tana didn't back down. She tried her best to stay strong and keep speaking truth no matter how tough it got. At the height of the controversy around mid-last year, Tana decided to open up even more. On her canceled podcast with Brooke, she came out and shared more details about the whole situation. One of the things Tana addressed on the podcast was how she tends to joke about serious stuff, even when it's something deeply personal or painful.
Saying it, you know, and it's just a classic case of I say something fleeting in the ways that I say something, and then it is taken very seriously because I'm usually trauma dumping and breadcrumbing with a giggle.
Yeah, and
right?
it usually is pretty serious, and we're just so flippant about it, and we'll just like talk some shit.
And that's always how I've just dealt with shit or made light of shit. Like, I'm just the type of person who does say things in a very like flippant manner, and then it's like, oh, no, nobody else is laughing.
Yeah.
Like, even just in real life, I'll say some crazy and I'm like, ha ha, and they're like,
yeah,
are you good? You know, and it's just like, it's how I am. But
that's just Tana's way of processing the world around her. She tends to make light of serious situations because for her, it makes talking about them easier. Turning pain into a joke has always been her way of coping, and delivering heavy stories in a playful tone feels safer. And in today's world, where people can be super sensitive about everything, presenting things with a bit of humor can sometimes soften the blow. If she had come out and said it in a serious, emotional way from the start, it might have been picked apart or dismissed even faster.
we were on tour. We were saying a bunch of on stage in a bunch of different games, and we thought we could trust the people as we had the whole tour. Because it really was like at every other show we were saying the craziest shit about people, and it wasn't being brought to light. And however, I understand that this isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Yeah.
And I've tried to talk about this a million times, and I feel like I never have the right words. But it's everywhere all over the internet, and I know people want me to talk about it, and I'm gonna do my best right now, you know?
Tana then went on to share a more serious and emotional revelation about what happened between her and Cody. This time she dropped the humor and spoke from the heart. She talked about how the whole situation made her feel, how confused, hurt, and taken advantage of she felt when she looked back at it. Back then she didn't fully understand how wrong it was, but as she got older and looked back with more clarity, she started to realize just how serious Cody's actions were.
I mean, I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. Yeah, it happened. And I think that, first of all, it's really, I'm trying to think about it from a perspective of like a younger sister or someone that I really care about. Even the other day, like I was texting just about her life and everything that's going on in her life right now. And
But looking back, you start to see just how young and vulnerable you were. Now as an adult, when Tana sees girls who are the same age as she was when everything happened, it hits differently. It makes her wonder, how did someone older not see how young and impressionable she was? How did they still go ahead and become intimate with her? And she's right to question it. In most cases, the older person holds all the power. They have the life experience, the money, the influence, and the manipulative skills to bend a younger person's mind without them even realizing it. That's the message Tana's trying to get across. It's not only about age, it's about the imbalance of power and how that can lead to a young person being taken advantage of without even knowing it at the time.
But I genuinely feel that way. Like it feels like all of the other people I hooked up with when I was 18, whether they were 30 or whether they were not 30 and they were my age and they were whatever, like I was just in a place of life, especially the circles and world I was surrounded in Vegas and then coming to LA. Like those are, if you're in the wrong realms, those can be very sexual places.
Yeah.
And like, I was just hooking up with people and having so much fun. And like, that's the way my mind, because I grew up loving him. And I think you know what I mean? Like I was just like excited and a fan and like.
Of her. That reflecting out who they are. They don't always know what they're doing or what they're getting into. And even if they make the first move, it's up to us, the adults, to say no.
I have like so many thoughts on this whole situation, you know what I mean? And I was first talking about like trauma, and I don't know if you do this, I wonder if you relate to this, but like there's a lot of things I look back on that I think would maybe traumatize. I love how serious we just got. Yeah, I know. I want to finish The Smallest Man in the World, but we'll go back. I got it in my brain, okay? That like would maybe traumatize the average person more, but you've been through things that are so much more detrimental that you can kind of look back at these things and they don't really feel traumatizing. Like And that was kind of the situation I was in and like my perspective on it. But then I was like, but at the same time, like if I had a 17-year-old daughter or a little sister or something, like I would kill.
Yeah.
You know, so then it's like,
same, yeah.
It's hard in that regard. But the thing that was actually really heartbreaking to me and kind of crazy to me is after it started going viral, like seeing so many people like not believing me and being like, it's Tana, so who cares, it's this. And then I just started to feel bad for so many other girls who maybe look up to me and want to speak their truth and then see the way people...
Tana might be laughing about it like she always does, but the truth is she's hurting inside. Talking about trauma is a good way to process it. Some might say that it happened a long time ago and that she should just move on, but it's not that easy. This is the kind of issue we face in our society today. If we don't start treating kids as kids, we risk overlooking the lasting impact of such experiences. Let's hope that we as humans can do better and bring those who have done wrong to justice.